This was an important fact for me because a lot of times I think people think of Austria in a different way as it relates to World War II.
Quite a number of Austrians were executed, and I don't think that is well known. Only one person is quite well known, which is Franz Jägerstätter. He was a peasant, a simple peasant, and out of his own Christian conviction, he refused to go to war. He was executed in 1943 in Berlin, like many other Christians who refused to serve the Nazi regime.
If they were to speak these words, they could listen to another woman on the torture table. What else can they do?
Even though this was a very dark period in Austrian history, there were a group of individuals, or many individuals, who were actually working against this, the injustices that were going on.
Sure.
What exactly does nonviolence mean? What is nonviolence? Because I think there's a lot of confusion as it relates to this term that's thrown around, and it means different things to different people.
I think it's a very unfortunate or incomplete expression, because it says no to violence, and that is important.
Right.
It's like Gandhi said, ahimsa, to fight without a force that harms the other. So into the European languages, this was translated as non-violence. But Gandhi always used a second expression, satyagraha. So if you refuse to use violence in order to fight injustice, then you must take another force. And this other force is the force of truth, of love, and of justice.
Dancing with the missing, dancing with the dead, you dance with the invisible ones, the anguish is unsaid.
We call it active nonviolence because we think that people think it is very passive.
Right.
You just say no and you let evil go. So it means to radically say no to violence, to analyze situations, to find out the root of violence, to say no, and then to believe that in every human being there is the possibility to decide, to take decisions. You have a conscience, and this conscience can be touched, it can be reached, it can be opened. So, but it can open to justice only if you use a force that does not hurt the other, that does not despise, that is not hateful. But if it is the power of truth, if you speak the truth, if you tell about the reality to the other person, if you open his eyes to the suffering then a change is possible. So you use the power of truth and love and justice, you replace violence. So I think it is a very combative force.
Absolutely.
And it is never resignation to injustice.
Dancing with their fathers, dancing with their sons, dancing with their husbands, they dance alone.
I did read about you being involved in the Philippines.
When we were invited to work in the Philippines, there was a very cruel dictatorship there. And it was supported internationally by the United States at that time. Yeah. When you are faced with such a situation that you make first an analysis, because you have to discover where are the roots of the injustice and how can you take them off. We made the analysis. We tried to make them see that everybody, willingly or unwillingly, is part of
Or participants.
Yeah. So several people did not accept this, and they said, no, it's a dictator. So you project on one person, and this is not the truth. An analysis is trying to really show the truth of a situation. the reality.
One day we'll dance on the breeze. One day we'll sing our freedom. One day we'll laugh in our joy.
We told them we are also responsible, and you are responsible. When you see how an injustice is constructed, and you have the economic level, you have the military level, you have the people who just work in order to live,
To survive.
To survive. And there are those who are afraid to speak up because of the consequences, and there was a lot of torturing and of people being killed and disappearing, and so there was great fear. And so you really had to think about a number of different actions, and then before you go into action, you have to learn about the power of nonviolence that is in the human being.
Ellas danzan con los desaparecidos, danzan con los muertos, danzan con amor.
What do you think about the effectiveness of protests?
Well, I think protest is part of the tasks to prevent military action or violence, and or tasks to be done when the violence is already broken out, and tasks after an event to heal and to build peace. And so I think there is quite a number of different tasks for which we have to be prepared and we have to learn. But surely protest is very important.
Danzan con sus padres, con sus hijos, con sus esposos. Ellas danzan solas.
There has to be a minority that has to be trained, really. And then you develop the strategy, and part of the strategy is the protest. The protest means to speak out the truth and try to build a mass movement, and that of course has a political impact. Whether it is admitted in public or not,
Right.
It has an impact. So you build on something that is already there. I think that is gift of God to every nation, to every human being. But you must believe very firmly that this power has the capacity to withstand and to overcome the injustice, and that you must respect the other.
There was the Pinochet who sold a little crop. It's foreign money that supports you. One day the money's gonna stop.
You begin to organize on two ways, helping people to understand this power and to understand how to use nonviolent instruments of action, and trying to withdraw the forces that support the dictator, and at the same time try to have an impact on the people responsible in the situation.
It seems that people are looking for results to happen overnight. And that's, I think, where some of the frustration begins, because some of the students that I spoke with, they would say, well, what good do these actions do, because they didn't prevent this? You don't think you can change things by demonstrating?
Not really, no.
Yeah?
I don't think you can change a whole lot by demonstrating or something like that, but I think afterwards you can say, at least I told them I don't like it like that, or I don't want it like that.
I've been thinking a lot about demonstrating too, and whether it's effective or not. And sometimes I think it's very hard, because you see that you expend a lot of energy and you want to see a result, because I've been frustrated myself at times. But one of the positive things that I've seen is that no other time in history has such a large group of people around the world come together around a central idea.
No wages for your torture, no budget for your gun.